Welcome back, everyone, to the project stream of the Art Lounge Alley. This is part 53, and I'm going to be working more on this project that you're seeing right here. So for those of you who were part of the previous stream, I was talking about how I'm really excited about this one because I discovered what was going wrong. I did some research, did some upgrades, and now the drawing process is a lot smoother. You know, before when I was using Clip Studio Paint while streaming, my CPU usage was ridiculous, and I could understand like what was causing it. I just thought that was just what happens with the program that I'm using when streaming. But upon further investigation, it happened to be an issue with OBS. So thankfully, I came across some answers. And before, when I was drawing, I was like, man, why does it feel like I'm so much slower at this process? Like I really didn't connect the dots there. I didn't think like the CPU usage would really affect the performance of Clip Studio Paint, but as it turns out, it's a huge difference. Like especially once I go off stream and I start drawing in Clip Studio Paint, it's huge. It's an astronomical difference. Much smoother, less delay in general, which quickens the pace for me. You know, before I think, I'll be honest, I was like slightly unmotivated by working Clip Studio Paint because I was like, I just seem to feel a little sluggish when it comes to it. And now I know why. And some of you might have noticed in my previous projects that I might have took a while for certain lines, parts of the face or features took me a lot longer. And now I know exactly why that is. And it's also motivation for me to draw off stream, knowing this. Knowing that the process is actually way smoother and faster when I'm not streaming is motivation to keep doing it. So what are you guys looking at exactly? Well, this is a character that I came up with a while ago. I was just thinking about it, and I thought it would be a pretty interesting scene to have this android. Basically, it's a robot, but an excellent musician. In this futuristic world, obviously, you could tell by the flying cars in the background, even in the foreground, if you could spot it right now. Having him playing music on the street. He's a performer, and he is around a bunch of people who are technologically plugged in. So you got this robot, right? Full body robot, playing soulful music. And he's surrounded by people who have souls, but they're completely enamored and entrenched in technology. And you could see they're kind of just like moving through the area, almost unconscious. Like you could see this person right here, and she's really into whatever it is that she's seeing on the device, and just kind of using her hand to guide herself, making sure she doesn't bump into anything, like feeling what's in front of her because she doesn't want to take a break from looking at her device. And everybody else is pretty much plugged in as well. You guys can see by these like wires that are attached. They usually lead to a battery pack to make sure that they're plugged in even longer throughout the day. And I thought it would just be an interesting position, where it's like contradiction in a way. You got this robot, he's playing soulful music, he's immersed in the real world and what's going on around him, and, playing an instrument and learning that, and being incredibly good at it, very soulful around people who are completely enamored in technology. It's this like juxtaposition between these two opposites, kind of. So I thought it would be pretty cool. And if you guys take a look and see, he doesn't really have a face. It's a pretty simple model robot. For a face, he has a screen, and that screen displays emojis depending on what he's thinking and feeling. And I'm still deciding on whether he should have text on there. And probably, maybe in the future, he's gonna get like a voice. We'll see. I'm kind of coming up with that concept on the fly. And he's also going to be around other robots who are disfavorable to society. They're just kind of like the police, basically. They're the patrol, or on patrol, rather, in this city, and a lot of people just don't like them because they're robots. They don't really understand a lot. They're just doing things as they're programmed, sometimes making mistakes, and not being accounted for. So just causing disturbances, causing people to be frustrated, wrongfully accusing, that sort of thing. Because they're robots. They'll make mistakes as well. But yeah, he's going to be around a bunch of robots, and people are also going to be like, here's another one. So he distinguishes himself by all these different accessories. As you can see, he kind of has like a musketeer outfit going on. With a bandana, he's playing music, the complete opposite of all the robots and androids that are known in the city. Might have to take a rain check on that shading. Kind of want to leave the main character for last. It's like the icing on a cake, and just kind of work on everything else around. Pretzel's hitting with the grooves. I like this station in comparison to the other one that I was using before. This is chill hop, so there's less. I'm gonna say there's like less lullaby songs, because I noticed that's one of the reasons why I switched over was songs were getting a little daunting. Forgot about this furry friend here. The only other one who's listening to what this main character is playing. This is probably like my favorite phase when it comes to drawing, or like digital, I guess. Is once everything is in place the way I like it for now. You know, the scene is created, the characters are created for the most part, and it's just adding little details to bring out the drawing more, really refine it. This is like the icing on the cake. But there is a part of me that's really does enjoy the beginning process as well. Like, it is a thrill, you know, it is a bit of a rush as well, because, you know, you're like, oh, is it going to turn out the way I wanted it to, the way that I'm seeing it in my mind, and really going through that stage and like challenging myself to try to get it down as much as possible, doing whatever I can to get there. It's weird to say, but yeah, I do enjoy it, and sometimes I end up missing it while I'm in this phase of just like beautifying everything on the image. I think these little elements are also pretty important to the scene because otherwise it would just seem too clean in comparison to like what the buildings look like and how decrepit they seem. And then just having like a really clean looking ground wouldn't look right. And they both kind of complement each other at this point. But yeah, like the brush strokes are a huge difference now. As you guys can see, I'm not doing as much erasing. I remember when I was first doing these digital projects, I was like, man, I'm really rusty when it comes to digital painting because I feel very slow. My lines aren't coming out the way I want them to. Only to now realize, well, you guys weren't part of the escapade in the beginning. My computer went kaput at some point. I noticed when I looked at the bottom of the case that the fan was, well, first of all, the fan was incredibly loud. I don't know what was going on there. And then I just looked at the bottom of the case after doing some research and I saw that the battery expanded. So much so that the case was popping out. Like the screws on the case were like buttons on tight pants, basically. They were just like waiting to pop off. And I could see actually the battery from that gap between the case and the top of the laptop. I was like, oh man, what is this? I've never seen this. And then fixing that dramatically changed the speed of everything. So if any of you are suffering from the same thing, check the bottom of your laptop because the battery might be going kaput. And I think a lot of that depends on how heavily your computer is used. Like, are you using a lot of your CPU for anything? Are the fans on really loud? All those end up affecting the longevity of the battery and how hard your computer is going to be used. some of these lines I was working on yesterday, and I just kind of sped through them to see how much of the problem has been resolved from all the upgrades. So kind of have to go over them again and define them a little bit better. Just gonna take a second to see what things look like without all these blue lines. I'm gonna say still ways to go. Like, this is the first stage of the final stage when it comes to the drawing. Of course, there's gonna be coloring as well, but it's kind of hard to tell what things look like with all these other layers behind it, because they're giving the image more thickness. So I might have to go back and just define the black lines more after everything has been drawn in black ink. Man, what a difference. What a huge difference. Yeah, and I really felt unmotivated before when I was like, after I would end the stream, I'm like, I'm going back to traditional. Like, this is annoying. I'd rather be able to just do work quickly on paper and not have to think about like software and hardware and, you know, tinkering with that stuff. Like, I feel like it's such a waste of time, and I genuinely still feel that way. Like, despite this actually being way more enjoyable than before, I just hate having to spend time on that as opposed to focusing on drawing and focusing on, you know, developing whatever it is that I'm working on. So I'm like super determined to just be, for the most part, traditional in my drawing. I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna mark off some spots where, and a lot of these markings that I'm making right now are just accidents, really. Like, I noticed that in the previous layer when I was sketching things out, I made these lines that kind of look like grime marks. So I'm just gonna put these areas as areas that I'm gonna fill in with black later, you know, just to pop out the building more. And that's another thing that I noticed, actually. Like, when I take these layers off, there isn't enough contrast. The main contrast that I'm seeing right now are the pants, right? This guy's shirt, the pants, like, that really brings more dimension to the drawing. Everything else seems a little bit on the flat side. You know, her shadows here as well. So that's really what I'm going to be working on after all this. think another thing I could tell you for those of you who are also interested in streaming at some point, don't use a laptop. Laptops are just not good for that. As I mentioned, you're dealing with like batteries, and you know, the amount of usage you're gonna have streaming is gonna be a huge toll. On everything. You know, these streaming applications are very tedious when it comes to like hardware and all that stuff. So you want a computer that's pretty robust.